Gnoddy's sweet self here is formed by making a sweater that is picked up and knit from underneath the hat, and then a body that is picked up and knit from underneath the sweater. So that's what we're going to work on right now, is just a quick pickup tutorial for this part of Gnoddy. So we've placed a stitch marker, and the stitch marker will be at the center back of our gnome here. So we're going to roll everything back, and we're going to go, and it's not absolutely important that you get this stitch versus this stitch. It's really not that important for this part of the gnome, but what we're going to do is we're going to go along and we're going to pick up at the top of the ribbing here. So the row where we transition, and the figure in the book actually does a really great job of showing what we're going to be doing. So we have the little ribbed bits here. So these are sort of the knit ribs, and you can see at the top of that there is a cap, and then there's sort of two smiles underneath. So we're going to be picking up the red marked stitches here along the whole thing of the ribbing. And so we're going to be working along the top, but there's really no wrong way to pick up stitches, so don't get too stressed out. If we take this as our starting place and we go next to it, you can see this is, I mean, it's very short in this example. So we've got our short little bit of ribbing, and this bit right here is my cap. The knit ribs are going to be really easy. If I were skipping and we did it like this, it'd be nice and easy. But in between, we've got a purl, and so that's what we need to do next. So if this is my knit cap and this is my knit cap, then in between, we've got one in right here. But again, don't stress about getting this perfect. If you wander a little bit between, it's not going to be the end of the world. So here's my knit cap at the top of the, or my cap at the top of there. So then this will be my purl. This will be at the top of my knit rib. And we'll just keep going along, picking up. Try to pick up in roughly the same place, and if you pick up from the top down, your stitches will be oriented so that the right leg of the stitch is in front, and that way there won't be twisted. If you're picking from the bottom up, your stitches will be twisted, and if you then knit them like that, your pickup row could get very, very tight and inflexible. So that's just something to keep a track of. If you have a stitch that's knit or picked up from the bottom up, then I'd be knitting those from the through the back loop, and that will untwist them. If you have an untwisted stitch and you knit it through the back loop, that will twist it. But if it's already twisted, that actually untwists it. So we're just going to go around and we'll pick up all along here. The variegated yarn is making it a little more tricky for me to see what I'm doing. People usually get intimidated about picking up stitches because there's a ratio. It's something like every 3 out of 4, and then on this part of the sweater it's every 2 out of 3. But the nice thing about gnomes is almost every situation in which we're picking up stitches, we're picking them up at a 1-to-1 ratio, and then you can fudge it on the next round. If you need to decrease or increase to get the right stitch count, you can. So that's always nice about gnomes, is that they are forgiving that way. So just get roughly the right number of stitches onto the needle, trying to pick up above the ribbing so that the ribbing is sort of flapping free and really gives the impression that Gnoddy is made of, or is wearing a sweater rather than made of sweater. If you leave this marker here, the one that we placed to give ourselves a landmark to know where to knit, pick up and knit, you can just leave it, and then it will function as a beginning of round marker too. So having picked up our stitches, now we will knit. If you haven't noticed, I often separate picking up from picking up and knitting. I think it's easier to do them separately. Some people find it easier to do it together, and I encourage you to be the boss of your own gnome and your own knitting. So now we join our body yarn and we work a few rounds, and then we will start closing it up and then stuffing, which is the next step, where we'll have a little something to talk about.